Hello and welcome back again. In this episode we're going to be making some accessories for the mine tiles, so things like this buffer for the end of the rails. As well as those, we'll also be creating some wooden support beams, and no mine would be complete without a couple of mine carts, so we'll be making some of those as well. And like always, you can find a link to the PDF file for these down in the description, so let's get started. Right then, the first thing we'll need to do is glue two of these textures to some 5mm thick foam core, and we'll also glue some of the wood texture to the back. Then we'll cut those to size with a sharp knife and wrap the edges in more of the wood texture, so that we end up with these two pieces. Next we'll take another piece of foam core and cut that into a strip that's 2.5 inches by 3/8, and we're going to wrap that in the wood texture as well. It's the same kind of thing that you've seen me do in other videos lots of times before. Anyway, once all that's done, we'll also need a base for these, so I've just cut out a 3x1 piece of the floor texture that's been glued to the same cardboard that I used for the floor tiles. And all we'll need to do then is apply some hot glue to one end of one of the angled pieces and glue that along one edge of the base, so that it's sloping in towards the centre. Then we'll do the same thing along the other side, so something like that. And then all we'll need to do is glue the 2.5 inch long plank on top. And that's all there is to it. It's a pretty quick and easy build. And the idea for these is that they can be placed in between the tiles, like you can see here, to suggest that there's wooden support beams running throughout the mines. So yeah, that's the supports. Now for the kind of buffer stop thing. Okay then, for these we'll need to glue these two textures to some 3mm foam core and glue some more of the wood pattern to the back. Then, just like we did with the supports, we can cut those to size and wrap the edges in more of the wood texture. Next we'll take the two planks and glue those to some cardboard, with yet more of the wood texture stuck to the back. And once again, when they're dry, we'll cut those to size. Okay, now all we'll need to do is stick these to one of our dead-end mine tiles. So, as you can see, all I'm doing here is applying some glue to the bottom of the foam core pieces and gluing them in line with the rails. So, something like this. And then we can apply a couple of spots of hot glue near the top of these pieces and stick one of the cardboard planks into place. Basically, this kind of thing. And if you like, you could also stick a second one beneath it. And there you go. There's our little end of the line piece. And yeah, that's that done. But like I said earlier, we're also going to need some mine carts. So let's get started on those. Okay, for each mine cart, we're going to take this texture here, use the guides to score these two lines, and then cut it to size. And that should result in something that we can fold into this kind of shape. Next we'll need to take a piece of thin corrugated cardboard, and all we're going to do is glue the texture over one end. Basically so that we end up with something that looks like this, with the texture covering one edge and both sides. Then it's pretty much up to you how big or small you want each cart to be, but for this example I'll be going with this kind of shape, so here's the measurements that I've used myself. And again, once you've cut those out, you can make them as tall as you like, so in this instance I'll just be using the top two planks. So if I just quickly get rid of those, here's all of the pieces that I've already cut to size, so the two sides and the front and the back. And all we'll need to do now is glue them all together. So, as you can see, I'm applying some glue to the edges of the side panels and gluing those along the edge of the smaller pieces. And the aim here is to make a little box that's wider at the top than it is at the bottom. So this is what we should end up with, a nice little minecart shape. Now for the bottom, we're going to use some more of the same cardboard that's been cut to the same size as the bottom of the piece, which in this example is 1 1/4 by 3/4 of an inch. and we'll need to wrap that in some more of the wood texture, which is, that's exactly what I've done here. So, there we go. Then we'll simply need to apply a thin line of hot glue around the bottom of the cart and glue the base into place. And there you go. Now it really is starting to take shape. Okay, next we're going to take this rusty metal texture here, score it down the centre, and then cut it to size, so that we end up with something like this. And all we're going to do with this piece is use it to cover the exposed corrugation on each corner. So I'll just roughly measure it to the right length and trim it to size. Then we can add some glue to the back with the trusty glue stick and glue it into place. And there you go, that's the one corner reinforced with a bit of metal. Okay, so I'll just quickly do the same thing for the other 3 corners. So I've really sped this part up as it's the exact same process. And when it's done, it should look something like this. Now, obviously, we're going to need some wheels. So for these, we'll take one of those tiny drinking straws and wrap that in some of the wood texture. Then, once it's dry, we'll need to cut out a length that's just a little bit wider than the base of our cart. So, in this example, it's roughly 7/8 of an inch. And we will of course need 2 of those. Then, for the wheels themselves, we'll glue some of the wood texture to both sides of a piece of cereal box style cardboard and punch out a circle with a hole punch. So, something like that. And, you guessed it, we'll need 4 of those. Then it's just a simple matter of gluing one of these circles to each end of both of the straws. So that's all I'm doing here, and trying to get them as central as possible. So basically this kind of thing. And the final step of the whole process is to glue those to the bottom of the cart. So, as you just saw, I just placed them in a position that looked roughly right, and then stuck them down with a line of hot glue. And there you go, there's the finished piece. On its own, it probably doesn't look all that impressive, but if I just quickly lay out a little tunnel, you can instantly tell what it's supposed to be, and that's all that really matters. So yeah, that's it for this one, and I do think that these little extra pieces, especially the support beams, they really do give the whole thing that kind of classic mine appearance. Anyway, as always, I just want to say thank you for watching. I think I have one more mine video to go, so with any luck, I'll have that done by the end of the month. But yeah, thanks for watching, bye for now.